Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make this really easy modified herringbone with the Summer Bling Fling treasure bag. However, you can use whatever beads you would like. You do not have to have the Summer Bling Fling treasure bag to do this. I am going to call this the Bling Fling bracelet just because it's a stupid name and I like it. So anyway, I have done two little versions here. I modified the end of this one to get a little bit more length because this one was just a little bit too short, and just to show you how you can modify the ends to accommodate whatever you need to do. So if you didn't need it, if you needed it shorter but you didn't need quite as much length, you could do this before you do this part so that you can just modify. Or if you just need a little bit more length, then you can do like I did here, or you can do a whole nother unit. Anyway, that's why I have two here, because I've shown a modification at the end of the video on how to achieve different length. So that's what these look like. This is the one that fits me, so I will put it on and come back and show you. This is what it looks like, and really in reality I could have even used a little bit more length, but this fits me really well. This is exactly a 7-inch. This is about a 7 1/4, maybe a tiny bit over a quarter, and it works out really well. There is a little bulk to these beads, so you need to add a little bit extra length. I normally could wear a 7-inch, but this one, it just would be way too tight. So I modified this one, and that's what it looks like. And there's your clasping. It's really pretty. So let's go ahead and look and see what it takes to make this project and get on it. Okay, so today we are going to be using some of the beads that you will find in the Summer Bling Fling treasure bag. However, if you don't have that treasure bag, then you can use any beads you would like. This stitch will accommodate any beads that you would like to put in. When you're using larger beads with this stitch, it's a herringbone. It's a derivative of a herringbone, modified, I guess I would call it. And when you're doing that and you're using larger beads, as long as you do it the way I show you, you should be able to use any beads you want. Now I am using the 12 by 14 flat bicones in the bag. I'm going to use 4 of them. However, you have 5, so if you need to make a longer bracelet, you can do another section. Now, I am making a 7-inch bracelet, so I'm using 4 of those. However, you could use a large oval glass bead. You could use a rectangular glass bead. There's a bunch of them that you may have in your stash that you can use, or you could just use a large rondelle or something. You'll have to adjust your length according to whatever beads you use, but you can use this stitch with any beads you have. So we're using 4 of these, possibly 5 if you need more length. Then we're going to use about 16 of the 3mm bicone crystals, the peach puff, that are in your treasure bag. However, you can use any 3mm crystal you'd like. You could probably even use a 4mm bicone. You will just have to adjust your length accordingly. And we're going to use about 16 of them. Of course, if you make a longer bracelet, you will need more. We're going to use about 5 of the 6mm round dyed glass pearls that are in the treasure bag. You can use anything that you would like, 6mm round, or perhaps even a 6x8 bicone, or actually a 6x4 would be better. And you can use anything you'd like. These are in the treasure bag, and they are the 6mm round dyed glass pearls. Then I'm going to add to the treasure bag, and I am going to add some 8/0 seed beads. This is Toho Starlight Permanent Finish, and like I said, it's an 8/0. Then I'm going to use one of the clasps that's in the treasure bag. You can use any clasp you'd like. If you feel like you need it a little shorter, you may want to use a small lobster claw or something like that. If you want to adjust your length slightly, but you don't really want it to stray from the pattern I show you, then you can do that. Then I'm going to be using a size 12. You can also use a size 10 beading needle. I'm using 10-pound Nanofil. You can also use 6-pound Fireline. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, to start this project, you want to put a wingspan of thread onto your needle. A wingspan is when you spread your arms out from side to side. You measure from your fingertips, the length of the first arm, across your chest, the length of the second arm, to your fingertips on that arm. And that is a wingspan of thread, and it should be more than enough for this entire project. Then you're going to begin by picking up 2 8/0 seed beads onto your needle. And you're just going to bring them down to the end of the thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, just enough to hold on to. And you have your 2 beads like this. Let me get you a little closer. And you're going to go up through the first bead on the tail side. So just go up through that bead like this and hold on to your tail, hold on to that bead, and pull your needle through. This will lay your beads side by side like this. And then we need to sew back through them. So we're coming out of this side, our tail is here, our working thread is here. We're going to go into this bead here. Hold on to both of your beads between your thumb and your finger and pull. Give a little tug, like this. And then go up through the bead that your tail is coming out of. Go up through it like this, just bypass the tail and pull. Give a little tug. You want those to be nice and tight together like this. Now we are going to add our clasping on this side just because it's easier to do so now than trying to do it later. And also whenever you work your clasp into the body of your project, you will have a stronger clasping. So we're going to pick up an 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to set this down and I'm going to drop this 8/0 all the way down my thread to those 2 little beads. My tail is on this side, my working thread and my new bead on this side. Then I'm going to pick up my clasping and I'm going to go through my clasp, the loop on my clasp. And I'm going to drop it down till I get close to that 8/0 that's laying there free, like that, or loose, whatever you want to call it. So this is what you have. Now we need to go back through this 8/0 and then back through this bead on this side because we're attached on this side. We need to attach on this side now. So I'm coming out of my clasp, I go down into this 8/0 and then I'm going to go down into this 8/0 on this side. I'm going to hold on to it. I know you can't see it, but I need to hold on to it and pull my thread. And this is what you should have. We're going to sew through it again to secure it, and then we'll make our beginning body of the bracelet. We'll sew through that again and up through the clasp again just to secure it twice. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pick this up. I have my tail coming out here. I'm going to bypass it because I'm coming out of this bead, bypass that tail, go up through the 8/0 here, and then the 8/0 right beneath the clasping, and then through the clasp. And pull. Now we're coming out of the clasp. We go back down into the 8/0 right underneath it, and then into the 8/0 on the opposite side from which we started. So we're going to go through this 8/0. Sometimes you have to do it in 2 movements. So I'm just going to go through this 8/0, pull my thread through, and then I'm going to go through this 8/0 right here and pull my thread through. And now I have secured my clasping once. So now I want to start the body of my bracelet, and we're going to do an alternate set of units between each one. So we're going to start with a pearl unit here. And this is what I say about you can do this with any type of beads as long as you follow the way I'm doing it. With a larger bead in a herringbone stitch, which is basically what we're doing, you can't really put two great big 6 millimeters on either side of an 8/0. You can, doesn't look very good. So what you do is you use one. So you drop one down and center it between those two beads as you do the stitch. You pick up two of your 8/0s on the opposite side to make you a stitch that you can follow through for your next unit. So you pick up one big bead, two of your 8/0s. And then I'm just going to turn this so I can hold it. And I am going to go back up through the purl, right here. And then I'm going to go up through, well, let's just go through the purl first. So we're just going to go through the purl, pull this all down, bring it up, and straighten these two beads out on the bottom, and we can do that more in a second. We want these two beads to lay out flat. So as you pull your thread through, you want to just arrange those beads. And then we're going to go back up through the 8/0s we're anchoring to. So we're attached here, we're going to go up through this side. And just that 8/0 there. And this is what you should have. Now I'm going to cut this tail down just because it gets in my way and it's confusing for you to watch. So I'm just going to cut it down some. And then this is what we have right now. Now, on this particular unit, we're going to go ahead and sew back up through the clasping, and then we're going to secure this unit. These units are large, and to keep them nice and secure, we want to sew through each unit again. So what we're going to do first is secure the clasping. We're coming out of this 8/0 here. We're going to go up into the 8/0 beneath the clasp and then through the clasp. I'm holding on to it, I'm pulling my thread through, and give it a little tug. And then I am going to come back down into this 8/0, right underneath the clasping, just like this, and I'm going to pull my thread through. Now my little tiny tail is sticking out here, so don't get confused. It's not an extra piece of thread. It's, well, it is, but it isn't. So we're coming out of this 8/0 now. We're going to sew through this entire unit again just to secure it. So now I'm going to go down into the 8/0 on this side. Ah, there's a fly in here. Freaked me out. Down into the 8/0 on this side, into the purl, and then pull through. It's easier just to go through the 8/0 and the purl, and then you can grab the 8/0 underneath on this side. Pull your thread through. Now we're just going to cross over, go into the 8/0 on this side, up through the purl, and pull through, and then up through this 8/0 here. So all I'm doing is just sewing back through my unit, simply to make it nice and secure and nice and neat. So now you can see I've traveled all the way around. I need to go through this bead, the purl, and then come out on the bottom so we can make our next unit. So we're just going to cross over from the bead we're coming out of, go into this 8/0, the purl, and then into this one. Now this is a very simple stitch. It's just that we need to secure each stitch, so you need to sew back through. So it seems like a whole lot more, but it's really not. You're just securing your stitches. So now what I want to do is I want to put in a unit of bicones. So I'm going to pick up my tiny bicone, any beads you want to use, and then we're going to pick up two 8/0s. So in essence, we're going to make 2 units. So we have our bicone, 2 8/0s, and a bicone. We're coming out of this bead here. We're going to cross over and go into this one right here. Now as we cross over and sew back through, we're securing these 2 8/0s on the bottom of this stitch and pulling them together. So we go up through this 8/0. So you're coming out here, you go up through this one, and then up through all 3 beads on this side. So we're going to go through the 8/0 and the crystal and the 8/0, just like that. Now, what we've done is we've made 2 stitches. But in herringbone, you should have a stitch underneath each unit so that they draw together. Because we've put 2 units at once, we need to sew back through and make the final stitch on the first unit here. So we're going to cross over from here, go down through 2 beads on this side, go down through the 8/0 and the crystal, and then up through the crystal on this side and the 8/0 also. Now, as I pull this, it draws those 2 crystals together and it finishes the stitch. Now this one needs to be finished also, but we'll do that when we put our next stitch on. So now we want to pick up a big crystal. So here we've got a pearl and a set of small crystals. Now we're going to pick up our big crystal, or whatever you're using. Anything big, you then pick up your 2 8/0s. So you're doing basically 2 stitches at once. You're securing the crystal and you're putting your herringbone stitch on. So you're going to take 2 8/0s, drop them down, and then you're going to go back up through the crystal and the 8/0 on this side. Because we're attaching to this side, we need to secure it on this side. So now I'm just going to hold on to it and pull this up through. As I pull this up through, those 2 beads on the bottom of the crystal should lay themselves out in a herringbone manner. Now I am coming up through this 8/0. I need to cross over, securing this stitch, coming back through to secure the entire stitch. So now I'm coming out like this. I'm going to cross over, go up into this 8/0 here, up into the crystal. And don't worry about coming through the 2 8/0s. They kind of get weird, so just come through the crystal, pull the bottom stitch tight, make sure you have your thread coming through to where there's no slack up between these 2, and come up on this side of the 8/0. And now you have your crystal on. But because it's such a big crystal and it's such a big unit, we're going to sew through the entire thing. So we are going to cross over, go down through the 8/0, go down through the crystal, and then the 8/0 underneath it on that side. Just like that. Pull through, cross over, go into the 8/0 on the opposite side, go up through the crystal and through the 8/0 on that side. If you cannot, just go through the crystal and then come through this 8/0. And you can see as I came through, I gave a nice tug that secures those 2 8/0s on the bottom here, and your stitch is nice and tight and really neat by securing it like that. Otherwise, it's kind of loose and weird. So let me back off just a little. Now, because we have a set of the little bicones on this side, we're going to do the little bicones on this side, and then we'll do a purl. So let's go ahead and do the stitch with the bicones. So we're going to pick up a little bicone, 2 8/0s, and a little bicone. In essence, creating 2 stitches at once. We're coming out of this bead, we're going to go into this 8/0 here and just the 8/0. Hold on to your big bead here and just pull these down until they lay out like this. They're not going to be perfect because we need to secure it yet. So we're coming out of this 8/0 here. We're going to cross over into the 8/0 next to it, go up through that 8/0 and the crystal and the 8/0 above it. So 3 beads on this side. And we're going to pull this. Now, we need to secure the bottom of the stitch for the bicones. So we're going to cross over, go down through this 8/0 and the crystal, just like that. And then cross over, go back up through the little crystal and the 8/0 on top of it. Now that stitch is secure. Now, we'll secure the bottom of these two beads when we do our next bead, which is our pearl. When you pick up a big bead, you pick up one, and then you pick up your 2 8/0s for your herringbone. In essence, again, doing 2 stitches at once. So now we've got our 2 little 8/0s here. We go down through the pearl and then into the 8/0 on this side, because we're attached on this side, we need to attach on this side. So now I just pick it all up, hold it in my fingers like this on the stitch previous, and pull this down until everything lays out the way I want it to. And then I need to secure these 2 beads here by crossing over, going back up into the pearl, and then back up into the 8/0 above that. But I'm just going through the pearl because the 8/0 is kind of not where I want it to be. So I'll go through this 8/0 now. As I do this, I need to pull and make sure everything is in line, just like that. Now, we need to secure this entire stitch simply because it's a big stitch and we want it to be nice and neat and secure. So what we're going to do is we're coming out of this bead, we're going to cross down, go into the 8/0 and the pearl, and come out. Now we started on this side, so we're going to go into this 8/0 on this side, and just the 8/0 here. Pull it through. Now we're going to cross over and come into this 8/0, back up through the pearl, like this, and then back up through this 8/0 on this side. Now that stitch is secured, and we need to make a little bicone stitch. So we're going to have bicone, pearl, bicone, big bicone, and that's the pattern we're going to do. So now we need to do another bicone stitch. So we're going to pick up a bicone, 2 8/0s, and a bicone. We're coming out of this side. We are now going to cross over and go into this bead, go down into it, and pull. Holding onto the pearl, just pull your thread through until they lay out like this. Now we have to cross over. We're coming out of this 8/0, cross over into the 8/0 right next to it, and go up 3 beads on this side. So we'll go through the 8/0, the crystal, and the 8/0 on this side, just like this. I'm going to hold on to my pearl and pull my thread through. Then I'm going to grab that whole unit and just give a little tug, like that. Now, again, we need to secure these 2 little bicones on the bottom. So we have to cross over, go down into 2 beads, so right underneath that little crystal. I'm going to hold on to it, pull my thread through, cross over, go up through this crystal on this side, maybe, and the 8/0 on top of it. Now the bottom of that crystal unit is nice and secure. They're pulled together. It's all beautiful and great. Now we're going to add one of our big bicones. So this is our pattern here, and then we'll add our big one. So just pick up a big bicone or whatever you're using. Oops, got my lamp. Pick up 2 8/0s like this, drop it down, and then go back through the bicone. So you've got your 2 little beads there, just ignore them, go back through the bicone and then through the bead, the 8/0 on the opposite side from which you're attaching. So you're attaching here, you go in here. I'm going to hold on to the whole thing here and pull these down. And that's what I have. Now, I'm going to get you even a little closer just so you can make sure you know what I'm doing. I'm coming out here, I'm going to cross over, and I'm going to go back up through. So I'm coming here, I'm going to come out here, go in here. That secures these 2 8/0s on the bottom and the crystal. Now I was able to just come up through the bicone, or excuse me, the bicone and the 8/0 on this side. So I'll just pull through. And that is secure, but I'm going to sew through it one more time. So I'm going to cross over, go back down through the crystal, through this 8/0 here, and just the 8/0 right there. I know it seems like an awful lot of sewing, but with crystals and a very small diameter thread, you want the stiffness of the multiple passes and you want the security of the multiple passes so that the crystal doesn't cut your thread and it's not all floppy. You need to have a little bit of structure here. So now we need to do this section again. So we'll do that one more time at our next big bead and then we'll go to length. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up a bicone, 2 8/0s, oh come here, and a bicone. And I'm going to back off a little. So I'm coming out here, I cross down into this 8/0 right here. Pull these down until those beads stack on top of each other just like that. Now I need to cross over and go up through all 3 beads on this side. And we've got our double unit. However, we need to secure the first unit. So what we need to do is cross over, go down into the 8/0 and the crystal on this side, pull through, cross over, go up into the crystal on this side and the 8/0. And we have our unit. Now we need to do a purl unit. So we're going to pick up a purl, 2 8/0s, drop them down. Go back into just the purl, ignoring those 2 8/0s, and then go into the 8/0 on the opposite side from which you're attaching. So you're attaching on that side, you're coming in on this side. Go down through that 8/0 and pull this tight. Now we need to cross over and sew up through. So we're going to cross over into the bead right next to the one we're coming out of and up through the purl. Then we need to go up into this 8/0 on this side because we came up that side and pull tight. Make sure that your unit is nice and tight, and let's secure this unit. So cross over, go through the 8/0. Okay, cross over, go through the 8/0, and then go down through the purl and the 8/0 on the side that you started on. Cross over, go up through the 8/0 and the purl on this side, and then come up through the 8/0 on that side, and you're secure. One more set of your little bicones. Pick up a bicone, 2 8/0s, and a bicone. Come down through the 8/0 on the opposite side here, so the one next to the one you're coming out of. Come down through it, pull your beads into position, cross over, go into the bead next to the one you're coming out of, and then all 3 beads on this side, just like that. Cross over, go down into the 8/0 and the crystal so we can secure our crystals. Cross over and go up through the crystal right next to where you're coming out of, and up through the 8/0. And now you are ready to put on your big crystal. Grab your big crystal, drop it down, pick up 2 8/0s, go back through your big crystal, pull these down, lay them out, go down into the 8/0 on the opposite side from which you're attached, right here, and pull through, cross over, go up into the 8/0 next to the one you're coming out of, which will pull those two 8/0s together. If you mess up the ones on top, don't worry. Just come up through that crystal right there, come up through the 8/0 on the side, and then we're going to secure it one more time. So we cross over, go down through the 8/0, go down through the crystal and the 8/0 on this side, cross over, go up through the 8/0 and the crystal, and up through this 8/0 here. And now you are ready to make your next section like this. So make one more section like this, put on your pearl or your crystal, and then you'll make a section of the small bicones and a pearl, and we'll stop right there. So I will come back and show you exactly what I've got, but go ahead and put on your crystal and your next pearl, so you'll have a section of bicones and a pearl, and then we'll be back. 4 of your big bicones in, and then you're going to do half of this in-between unit. So what you've done is you've put on your 4th bicone, and then you did a section with the little bicones, and then a section with the pearl, just like you normally would do, except for now we are not going to put on the second section of bicones. We're going to put on our clasping. However, if you have a very large wrist and you want to put on another bicone, then you can do that. You can go ahead and make your full section and your bicone. Now, if it's too long to make a whole section after that, just add 1 pearl after, and just modify the stitch so that you get the length you want. If you want it to be shorter, then of course you can stop here, maybe put another pearl on, and then put your clasping on. Just modify these in-between sections so that you can get the length you want. So this is going to turn out to be about a 7-inch bracelet. I've come out, I've secured this entire unit here, so I'm coming out of my little 8/0 seed bead on top here, just like I would be if I was going to add my 2 bicones and continue. What I'm going to do on this side is I'm going to pick up 2 8/0s. I'm going to attach the same way I did to my clasping here. However, I'm going to use 2 8/0s just to narrow down the end to make sure that my clasping works properly and to give me just a tiny bit more length. So I'm coming out of this 8/0, I'm picking up 2 8/0s and I'm dropping them down. And then I'm going to go through my clasp right here. Then I'm going to go back through these 2 8/0s and just the 2 8/0s like this and pull it through. So I'm holding on to those 2 8/0s and just drawing this down. Now I'm attached to this 8/0 on this side right here. So I'm going to go down into this 8/0 now and pull. I'm going to cross over into the 8/0 next to the one I'm coming out of. So, oops, sorry. I zoom in and then I get out of camera. So I've come down into this 8/0 here. I'm going to cross over and go into this 8/0 on this side and just pull through. Then I'm going to go into these 2 8/0s right up the center here and into my clasp. Then down into the 2 8/0s again here. I'm going to go down into this 8/0 here and into the pearl. So I have 1 round, so first I'm just going to go through here. I have 1 round secured through my clasp. Now I'm going to go through the first unit and secure it again, just to make sure that it's tied into this unit and we have a nice secure clasp. So now I'm going to go into the purl. I'm coming out of this 8-0. I'm going to go into the purl. Then I'm going to go into the 8-0 on this side, right underneath the purl. And then I'm going to cross over and go into the 8-0 here. And this could be a little tight because, you know, it's stitched and pulled together the way it should be. So I'm going to go up through this 8-0 here. Then we're going to go up through the purl here, up through this 8-0 on this side, and then I'm going to go up through these 2 8-0s on top here. Move your clasping aside so you can get through, and then go through the clasp, and then go back down into the 2 8-0s here, and then into the 8-0 here. Either side is fine, but kind of follow the way you went up through, and then come down through the purl, and then we're going to go through this 8-0 here, and then we're going to grab this thread bridge underneath these 2 8-0s. I'll get you in really close so you can see there's a little thread bridge right there. We're going to go up underneath it with our needle, kind of bend back your piece a little, and go underneath that thread bridge. Pull a little loop and go through the loop, and pull a knot down on that thread bridge. And then go into the crystals beneath. So I'm going to go into this crystal and this 8-0 right underneath that crystal. Pull everything together, make sure it looks good, and I'm going to go down into this big crystal. And then I'm going to, I think I'll go through an 8-0, and then I'll grab the thread bridge between these 2 8-0s. If I can get in it, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to have to go down through the crystal too. So I'll just go down through the crystal, and I'll grab this thread bridge right here between these 2 crystals. And I hope that wasn't blurry and weird. I'm really zoomed in. My hand sometimes will make it blurry. Let me back off just a little. Now I'm going under this thread bridge. I'm going to make a loop, tie a knot, then I'm going to go down into this 8-0 and the purl, and cut off my thread. I'm going to leave a little bit and burn it down. So now I'm just going to grab my lighter, have this little thread tag here. I'm just going to get close to it. If I can organize my hands, geez Louise. Okay, sometimes I'm so uncoordinated. There we go. And I'm just going to burn that down into the piece. You just get the flame close and just melt it. It'll just curl in. Don't light it on fire, and don't light your other threads that are holding your piece together on fire, or melt them. Okay, so that's what that looks like. I'm going to go shine up my crystals, and then I will show you how long it is and how it fits and all that stuff. Okay, so this bracelet is exactly 7 inches. Now, with the bulk of the bracelet and the fact that I've gained weight, which really stinks, but I did, this is a little too tight for me. I'll show you. So I'm going to show you how to get just a little bit more length. So it's just, I could probably get it on if I forced it, but then I might break it. It's just a little too small. And then it would be a tight bracelet, and I don't want it to be tight. So if you have a 6.5 inch bracelet or wrist and you want exactly 7 inches, or if you're just a small person, 7 inches usually will work pretty good with a lot of movement. So this is a perfect size for you. If you're a little bit bigger, you could go ahead and you could add an entire another piece if you needed to, and then end it exactly like I showed you this way. Or if you just need a little bit more length, then this is right where I ended before, where I showed you how to put the clasping on. I made another one, and what we're going to do is we're just going to do another section of the bicones. Now it's not going to end exactly the same way this does, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and pick up a bicone, 2 8/0s, and a bicone. And then we're going to go down into this stitch just like we've been doing. We're just going to add this section. So let me get you close, and we'll go ahead and finish this up. So I'm going to cross over, go down into this bead, and just do the bicones like we've been doing all along. And then of course I have to secure these here, cross over. And so now I'm going to add my 2 8/0s, and I'm going to get another clasp out here because, you know, I wasn't prepared for this. So now I'm going to add my 2 8/0s on top of here, and then go through my clasp. Go down through these 2, and then into these 2 here, and secure them by sewing underneath, crossing over, just like I showed you before. We've just added another section of bicones on top of that purl. And this will just give me just a little bit more length so that it actually fits me better. I'm going for about a 7 1/4 or a 7 1/2 inch because, like I said, I got fat. And staying home with my mom and not working, boy, I used to be running around all day long in the dental office, so I got fat. I admit it. And so I'm going to go ahead and finish this up exactly like I showed you before. I'll sew through it, secure it on the thread bridges, tie some knots, and come back and show you what I have. And this is what it looks like on the wrist. Now you can see I just added a little bit more length over here, and it worked out really good. So let me show you what it looks like. I'll show you both versions that I've made today. This one I didn't shine up yet. I need to go shine them up. But this is what they look like. And this one just has a little bit more length here. Now, if I was to go ahead and try to put on a whole nother unit here, it probably wouldn't have worked. Of course, I could just do a half unit with the next one, but I think that this works out fine. So if you have a very large wrist, you may want to go ahead and put another unit on, and maybe just put your pearl unit right next to your crystal instead of doing the double units of these, or just one unit of these and not the pearl or something. Just modify the end until you can get it to the length that you want it. Now this one turned out to be, yeah, it's right about 7 1/4. So that works out really good. Anyway, that's what these look like, and I think they're really pretty. There's lots of room for modification. There's lots of room to use different beads. Very simple pattern, moves very quickly. You can be done in no time and have a really pretty bracelet. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Have fun. Bye-bye.